Hey guys, Trevy the Great here again with another Warmachine Battle Report. This is a pretty cool game. I'm playing against a Colossal. That is kind of a new thing for me. I've done that once before against a Conquest, but for the most part, most of my Colossal experience has been with a Storm Wall and not against anything. So, I am playing against the Witch Coven of Garlgast with eStryker. So, pretty cool. I like eStryker. He's my go-to boy. And I'm playing against an opponent who has he's pretty new to Cryx. He's only been playing Cryx for a couple months, and so he's trying out the Witch Coven. This is his first game with the Witch Coven, and also his first game with the Kraken. So he was playing with a bunch of new units this game and made some questionable decisions. But I think the game ended up interestingly enough that I decided to post it anyway because it's cool looking. So that is why this battle report will be posted. But I hope you guys enjoy. This is a 50-point game. I'm running kind of a wonky eStryker list. I kind of wanted to try out some new things with eStryker, so I'm playing him with Old Rowdy and Esquire. He has a max unit of precursors with their unit attachment. He has Gormandy Wolf, Rupert Carvolo, Archduke Rudewood, Arlen Strangeways, and a Journeyman Warcaster as his ridiculous numbers of support Zolos. And he also has, to wrap up the whole bunch, a max unit of Sword Knights with the Sword Knight UA, and marshaling 2 Centurions. So that is a lot of Warjack for the unit to be marshaling, but so far this will be my second game using the Sword Knight and Centurion boat, and I think it's working out pretty well so far. Being able to Pronto and Polarity Field with the Centurions, and then also, because they're with eStryker, he can put Positive Charge on them, which makes the Sword Knights way better. I have Arcane Shield to make the Centurions hard to kill, and they're tough enough to kill already that they can survive to the late game and get those positive charge bubbles out there where I want them. So far it has worked really well, and I'm having a lot of fun playing with it. Pronto is an amazing ability, and I like spamming it as much as possible. So that is my list. My opponent, if I can remember off the top of my head, is running the Witch Coven and a Kraken and a Scarlock. He also has 2 Death Rippers and a Defiler, as well as a Slayer, and a max unit of Bane Thralls with the Bane Thrall UA and Tartarus. So pretty simple on that front. I think that's everything he has. May have forgotten something, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's everything. So the scenario is, if I remember correctly, Diversion or something? That might be it. I don't remember. Anyway, it has 2 zones in front of each of the players, and then 2 flags on each side. What we need to do is control the flag to our right, so I'm trying to control that one, obviously, on the right-hand side, and then contest my opponent's zone with something in order to score a point. My opponent is obviously trying to do the same thing on the other side. It's a little bit of a tough scenario, especially with my army having such infantry jam, which makes it hard to actually get up the board to contest that zone and or to control the flag. So this scenario didn't come into play too much, but it did a little bit, so keep that in your mind. Anyway, this is the deployment. As you can see, I've put all my Warjacks in the middle. He's put his Kraken in the middle. He's got a bunch of Arcanos over on the left-hand flank there. And then I have my Precursors on the right-hand flank to face off against the Bane Thralls, Sword Knights on the left-hand flank. And I am going first. So we'll see how it goes. Thus far, it goes good. On turn 1, everything runs pretty simple. I think the Striker moved up Cast Deflection so that the giant Narwhal cannon on top of the Kraken couldn't do as much damage as it could have normally if I hadn't had Deflection up. Most of my infantry tend to be a little bit higher on the armor side, especially against ranged attacks with Deflection and Arcane Shield and all the buffs I get. So I wasn't too worried about it, but it's nice to have the extra little bit of armor. The Sword Knights moved up in Pronto the Centurions. The Centurions ran up and hung out in the center, being armor 21 bosses. The Journeyman Warcaster put Arcane Shield onto the Sword Knights just to give them a little bit of extra boost against any shooting that comes at them, just in case, because I do like them, and they are marshaling both of the Centurions, so it's kind of important that I keep them alive. Other than that, everything just ran up and sort of got into position. In my opponent's turn, he didn't really do much. He didn't allocate any focus to any of his Warjacks. Just cast Infernal Machine onto the Kraken. Actually, I think he might have allocated 1 or 2 focus to the Kraken. The Kraken then advanced up and took a random potshot at one of my precursors and killed him. Everything else just advanced up. The Bane Thralls ran very cautiously. I think my opponent was, because he has the shooting advantage, he has all the guns off the Kraken, and I don't really have any ranged attacks besides, I guess, Striker and his Journeyman. So my opponent can outshoot me and doesn't have any incentive to come near me. except to contest that flag, and I can't score until his next turn, so he can counterattack me if I try to move up to take the scenario point. So he doesn't really have any incentive to move up, and he's hanging back for now. Here's my turn 2. Again, not too eventful. What I don't want to do is have my opponent be able to come up and kill all of my guys if I try to foolishly run into the scenario areas and try to basically put myself in a position to score in the future. So what I did was I hung back. I kept my precursors just a bit out of charge range of the Bane Thrall, I think. The Centurions moved up. They got prontoed by the Sword Knights, and they moved up, and they both polarity fielded. So they are both unchargeable by Mummel starting the front arc, which is great. I think if he'd cursed the Centurion on the right-hand side there, he could have gotten it with the Bane Thralls, but can't really do that once it has been polarity fielded. So pretty cool on that front. Other than that, I think everybody just moved up. I believe I transferred I kept Arcane Shield on the Sword Knights, and I might have cast some other things, but I don't remember. I think eStryker just continued to cast Deflection. Everything moved up. Arlen Strangeways cast Evasive on Old Rowdy. That's what I was remembering, but that didn't come into play at all. Arlen Strangeways needed something to do, so Evasive is as good as anything. Other than that, I'm basically waiting for him to make a move. His Bane Thralls are going to have to come into me at some point if they want to do any damage. I can start scoring if he's too standoffish, because he doesn't have a lot to cover his zone, and my jacks tend to be pretty fast with Pronto, so feeling pretty good about the whole situation. So here is the bottom of my opponent's round 2. So he can start scoring this turn, but he doesn't really, because he can't really get anything into my zone. He starts to make a couple questionable decisions at this point, because what he does is he moved up the Kraken. He allocates 3 to the Kraken, upkeeps Infernal Machine on it. Didn't allocate any focus to any of his other Warjacks. And the Kraken advances up and starts beating on the Centurion that's right there. Obviously, he can't charge the Centurion, but he doesn't need to because the Kraken has Chain Strike, which means it has a 4-inch melee range during its activation. So the Kraken moved up and started wailing on the Centurion that was there. Now, the Centurion's base armor 21, but the Centurion's base armor 19, and his shield is ignored by the chain weapons on the Kraken's tentacles. So he goes down to armor 19. The Kraken is power and strength 18 base, so he's swinging a dice -1 5 times. And on average, that is 30 points of damage. So on average, he should wreck the Centurion on average dice rolls, but he rolled a little bit bad. It left him on 4 boxes, I think. So the Centurion is alive. That was very good for me. But the problem is now that he's in charge range of Old Rowdy, and that is never a good place for a Colossal to be in, because especially under Epic Striker, Old Rowdy can get redonkulous and go in and just one-round large things. So I don't think that was a very good idea for him. He's also in range of my other Centurion and a bunch of my Sword Knights, so I think he's going to pretty much die this turn. The Kraken is anyway. But he does have all those Bane Thralls that are going to be very scary, and that are I think a couple of them are just on my charge range. So I'm going to have to try to go for scenario at this point and kill his Kraken, and basically put as much pressure on my opponent as I can. Okay, so top of round 3, my opponent had fed me a Kraken on a silver platter, and as you can see from this photo, I did not give it up. I started by allocating 4 focus to a Rowdy. He was within 8.5 inches of the Kraken, so he was just going to go punch it to death. So I started with the Centurion on the left-hand side there. He moved into the Kraken. Well, first actually he got power boosted by Arlen Strangeways, and then moved into the Kraken, did a couple points of damage with his spear. Then Striker went and cast Positive Charge on Old Rowdy, and Old Rowdy charged into the Kraken and just killed it with 4 focus and power and strength 20. So he was swinging a dice +1 5 times, and it died, which was pretty cool. I think I did get a couple above average dice rolls, but I did have a bunch of Sword Knights that were also in range of charging it, and they would become power and strength 12 weapon masters because they have flank and positive charge. So I think I would have killed it regardless of whether or not Rowdy had been able to deal enough damage. So it was dead. I decided that my next objective was to lock down my opponent's arc nodes to stop him from getting some crazy Stygian Abyss assassination runs off on Striker and off on and just trying to shadowbind my heavy warjacks, which I really don't like. So my Sword Knights ran up into the arc nodes. A couple of them got into charge range, but they didn't do any damage. And then on the other side, the precursors got a charge order, and they charged up into one of the arc nodes that was over there, and then basically ran up around the flag that was there. So if my opponent doesn't kill them, they're going to be around the flag, and I'm going to be able to start scoring in the future. I also prontoed my Centurions over the Centurion that had been damaged by the Kraken, just polarity fielded on the hill, and then the other one prontoed up into the Slayer that was over there just to put some pressure on the Witch Coven and basically be like, hey, there's a giant Centurion in your face. What are you going to do? So I missed taking a photo of my opponent's round 3, turn 3, so this is a cool photo of my turn 4. Basically, what he needed to do was damage control and just try to kill as much of my stuff as possible. Unfortunately, that's tough when all he had was a couple of Arc Nodes and some Bane Thralls and a Slayer. So the Slayer ended up getting a bunch of focus and wailing on the Centurion that was there. He didn't do too much damage. He actually rolled really low on his damage dice, which was too bad. But the Centurion was beat up, but none the worse for wear, really. He didn't damage any systems. The Bane Thralls basically double teamed on a couple of precursors and killed 4 or so of them. And fortunately for me, clumped up a little bit, so Gormity Wolf was going to go in there and kill a bunch, which was awesome. And then other than that, he also feeded with the Witch Coven. I guess that's important to note. So that my line of sight for models in his control area was reduced to 5 inches, and I had -2 Rat and Mat. So it was going to be very tough for me to get an effective counter attack off and deal a lot of damage. Okay, so I think I lost a round of photos in here, which sucks. So I think I missed a round, but I'll recap what happens. So I'm under the Witch Coven's feet, which makes my retaliation very, very lame because my Rat and Mat are reduced and my line of sight is reduced to 5 inches. So basically, I just tried to do as much damage as possible and stay alive for 1 round. So my precursors, those who were still alive, basically moved up into the Bane Thralls to deal with as many as possible. Gormity Wolf moved up and threw an acid bomb into a bunch of Bane Thralls and killed them. He also killed their standard bearer, who was kind of in the back of a small group of Bane Thralls, which is a big deal because it gets rid of their tough, which is super cool. Both of us were rolling pretty badly on tough rolls either way. My precursors were getting fearless and tough from Rupert, but both of us combined, I think, passed a total of 3 tough rolls this entire game out of 15 or 16. So it was not very good for on the tough roll scene. But what I ended up doing was getting one of my Centurions over to the other side. The Centurion that had been beat on by the Kraken. He got a focus point from Arlen Strangeways, and he ran over to the flag. Gormity Wolf was able to chuck an acid bomb into a group of 3 or 4 Bane Thralls that were sitting on the flag, and they all died, and no tough rolls, obviously. And then the precursors charged in and killed the rest of the Bane Thralls that were next to the flag, which allowed me to score a point because I had the Centurion in my opponent's zone, which was contesting it, which was very nice. In response, what my opponent ended up doing was killing all but my precursor officer, who made 2 tough rolls in a row, which was very nice of him. I think that he should continue to do that for the remainder of the games that I play with him. But unfortunately, he was knocked down and failed his command check for half of his unit dying, so that was not that great, but fortunately, he is still alive, and he hasn't used Morrow's name yet, so he could theoretically kill Tartarus, who's sitting right next to him. Later on, where this photo is, was, if I can remember correctly, Rowdy went up and just one-rounded one of the Arc Nodes that was over there, and then got beat on a little bit by the Slayer that was on the left-hand side there, but didn't take too much damage. Rowdy's kind of a boss like that. Otherwise, my Sword Knights just continued to beat on our one left Arc Node that's over there, and I continued to take Bane Thralls to the face on the right-hand side. So the right-hand side was pretty much dead. I tried to get the Centurion over to kill Tartarus. I put positive charge on him, and even though his arm was down, I gave him a power booster with Arlen Strangeways, so he was able to boost a hit against Tartarus. He hit, but I think I didn't do too much damage. It was dice plus 3 for damage, so if I rolled a 5 or greater on one die, which I guess is asking for good rolls, then I would have killed Tartarus, but I missed it. And then in the following turn, he wasn't able to take out my precursor officer, so he got up and passed his terror check and prayed for Morrow's name and swung at Tartarus and missed. So Tartarus was an unkillable bastard this game, which was unfortunate. And I think that was all that happened up till this picture. So sorry that I missed a couple photos in there. I must make this battle report a little bit confusing, but I think that we're all caught up. So here is the bottom of round. I'm going to go with 5. That's a good number. 5 is a good number. What happened here was my opponent went on an assassination run with Striker. He realized that a bunch of his bane thralls were dead. Tartarus was almost dead, but not yet dead, which was good. But unfortunately, he was pretty much out of infantry models to turn into bane thralls, and he was down to 3 or 4 bane thralls. So he went on an assassination run. He booted up his arc node, his one remaining arc node, and the Scarlock Thrall threw a Stygian Abyss at Striker, who was sitting on a hill, needed a 9 to hit him and crit him, so he was shadowbound. But good thing I had transferred Arcane Shield onto him with the German Warcaster, and he was camping 3 focus, so he was armor 22. And so Striker took a Stygian Abyss like a boss, and then the Witch Coven activated. They perfect conjunctioned with, so they all went into base with the Egregore, and looked at each other really longingly and long. And they cast a couple of Stygian Abysses through the Arcanode at Striker, but they either missed or didn't do any damage every time, so pretty happy about that. My opponent's Slayer continued to wail on O'Rowdy, but because my opponent was using the focus for Stygian Abysses, he didn't put any focus on the Slayer, and O'Rowdy is kind of a boss and didn't really take that much damage. And in return, O'Rowdy just completely destroyed the Slayer, obviously, because that is what O'Rowdy does. I got some good rolls on my Sword Knights and my Retaliating turn, and was able to kill my opponent's last Arcanode on the left-hand side. So all he's got is the Arcanode on the right-hand side. Unfortunately, Striker is Stygian Abyss, so he can't do anything. And my opponent had charged a couple Bane Thralls in, and was able to kill Gormand Wolf as well with a lucky hit from a Bane Thrall over on the right-hand side. So there's 2 Bane Thralls looking at Striker going, hey, you're at -3 defense. So the Striker was forced to aim, and he shot at the Arc Node to disrupt it, so it couldn't channel spells anymore. The Journeyman Warcaster moved up and tried to boost a hit on with his hand cannon onto the Scarlock Thrall, and on damage he rolled a 4 at straight dice, and he needed a 5 to kill him, so that was too bad. Left the Scarlock Thrall at 1 damage point. And then I already said I missed with my Precursor Officer, and Tartarus was able to just go up and kill the Centurion that is over on the right-hand side. But he missed the Precursor Officer. So the Precursor Officer is actually taking a whole bunch of fire and not dying, which is awesome, although he hasn't been able to really do much at all for pretty much the whole game. So let's see if my opponent can pull it out at this point. He's got the Assassination Vector on me, but I am quickly destroying everything he has. So Striker, having disrupted my opponent's Arcanode, was then pretty much immune to Stygian Abysses. So he tried to go kill the Scarlock Thrall, who was pretty much the only model who could Stygian Abyss without the Witch Coven getting into charge range of Striker. So he charged the Scarlock Thrall, and I think he missed on his charge attack, which was too bad. So he wasn't able to kill the Scarlock Thrall. He then tried to Lightning Storm a Bane Thrall and missed that as well. So Striker not doing so good this round. So if he had Lightning Stormed the Bane Thrall, there would have been Lightning Storm in between the Bane Thrall. I think there's 3 remaining Bane Thralls. There would have been a Lightning Storm in between them and Striker. So because I missed the Lightning Storm, it went off in the middle of nowhere and didn't do anything. So I ended up running my Stormblades over, or not my Stormblades, my Sword Knights over, and trying basically to mitigate as much damage as possible. With Tartarus would have been ranged to curse Striker, but needing 8s to hit even with the curse, I was fairly certain that Striker could take 1 charge. He was camping 3 focus and Arcane Shield, so he could take 1 charge from the Bane Thralls and not die. So I figured if he did that, the Sword Knights would then wipe out the rest of the Bane Thralls, and Tartarus wouldn't have anything to death toll to, which was pretty good. So I was moving up the Sword Knights into a retaliatory position while I ran O'Rowdy up right next to the Egregore, and basically within countercharge range, which is important. So this is going to be the last photo of the game, obviously, because O'Rowdy is next to the Egregore, which tends to end games pretty quickly. But what my opponent ended up doing was activating the witches. I don't remember what he was going to try to do. I think he was going to try to go over and possibly Stygian Abyss Striker, even though Striker was in melee. I don't know. He was just gonna camp his focus and try to basically wait it out and get his Bane Thralls into Striker and see if he could get Striker with the Bane Thralls. what ended up happening was that he moved the first witch, and I was like, okay. And then he moved the egregore, and I was like, okay. And then he moved the third witch, and I was like, oh, the second witch, and I was like, okay. And then he moved the third witch, and I was like, countercharge, and he was like, oh, I forgot about that. So Old Rowdy got up to the witch and curse blackadied her. She was camping a whole bunch of focus, so it didn't do too much damage. But the thing was that Old Rowdy was now right next to his caster, and that doesn't usually work out too well. I think the Bane Thralls got a charge off on Striker, but missed with their attacks, needing 8s to hit, even though Tartarus had cursed. Tartarus was out of line of sight to charge Striker because he had shifted his line of sight to hit the to Thresher, the Centurion, and the Precursor Officer, I believe, in the earlier turn. So he was not in line of sight of Striker, and he could not charge, but he did move up and curse him, and then the 2 Bane Thralls went in on Striker, missed, and Old Rowdy was next to the Egregore. So with positive charge and for focus, he put the kids to bed, as they say. So I hope you guys enjoyed that battle report. It was a little bit of a tense game. My opponent losing the Kraken early was a huge deal, but I think he caught a little bit of the new shiny syndrome, where you look at the giant, like, expansive damage grid of a Colossal that just goes for miles and miles, and you can, prance through it like a meadow, and basically said, oh, this thing's unkillable, so went to go kill a Centurion, ended up getting an Old Rowdy to the face. I think dice rolls were a little bit of a part of the game. I think I rolled a little bit high on most things. It would have been nice to make a couple tough rolls, but I think my opponent could say the same thing as well. Our tough rolls that game were awful, except for my sweet Precursor Officer, who ended up doing anything anyway. So I did roll a little bit high, killing the Kraken, and I think I did roll a little bit high killing the Egregore as well. But I had multiple ways to kill any of those models, so I don't think it would have been that big of a deal. But a good game for my opponent. It was his first game with Witch Coven. I think in the future, I'd like to see him use Ghostwalk a little bit more. I think that he got sort of caught up with being in melee and forgot that he has an easy way to just get out of melee, and forgot about that. And I think that's what this Garlock Thrall should really be about, rather than casting Stygian Abyss all over the place. But that is a learning experience for my opponent, and I hope he took that to heart and will play an even meaner game in future games. So, hope you guys enjoyed this battle report. Stay tuned for some more. I have a Summer Rampage event coming up this weekend, and I'm going to get some wacky, crazy battle reports out of that, so stay tuned.